Imagine inheriting $500 million. What would you do with it? Build massive houses? Buy expensive yachts? Adopt dozens of dogs and live on a farm? Well, all of those things are exactly what Edwin Morgan did when he inherited an unimaginable amount of money at just 29 years old. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit the subscribe button and let's explore this house. In 1854, Alfred Waterman Morgan was born into a prominent New York family as the distant cousin of famed financier J.P. Morgan. After his father's untimely passing in 1879, Alfred's grandfather, the former New York governor Edward Dennison Morgan, urged that the young man assume the family name, which he did, renaming himself to Edward Dennison Morgan III. Morgan graduated from Harvard in 1877 and stepped into adulthood with every advantage of the Gilded Age elite. Upon his grandfather's passing in 1883, Morgan inherited approximately $12 million, worth the modern-day equivalent of about $385 million. He proved to be a savvy businessman, investing and expanding the wealth through a variety of enterprises. He founded the Nassau Light and Power Company to bring electric power to parts of Long Island, became a major shareholder in livestock and ranching ventures, and served as president of mining companies operating in Mexico in the early 20th century. These ventures, combined with astute financial management, kept Morgan among the ranks of America's richest men. Beyond business, he cultivated a lifestyle of leisure and sport that befitted a Gilded Age aristocrat. He was an avid yachtsman and a prominent member of the New York Yacht Club. In fact, he would later serve as its commodore in the 1920s and was part of the winning crew of the 1901 America's Cup yacht race. Society pages of the 1880s and 90s often featured Morgan as a dashing sportsman with a flair for adventure and luxury. With such means and interest, it was natural for him to establish magnificent homes for himself and his family. In 1888, he commissioned a showpiece summer residence in Newport, Rhode Island called Beacon Rock, designed by Stanford White of McKim Mead & White, a villa so grand that it earned the nickname the Acropolis of Newport. Around the same time, Morgan set his sights on Long Island's North Shore, purchasing large tracts of land where he planned to create his ultimate country estate. By 1890, he had begun work on what would become Wheatley, his most elaborate and personal project. Morgan chose a site in what was then called Wheatley Hills, now Old Westbury, eventually assembling over 650 acres atop the area's highest hill. Construction of the estate spanned roughly 10 years, from 1890 to 1900, under the guidance of the renowned architectural firm McKim Mead & White. The result was one of Long Island's largest and most complete Gilded Age estates. The centerpiece was a 200-foot-long main house designed in a colonial revival shingle-style blend. To create a broad level yard for his mansion on the hilltop, Morgan first had massive stone retaining walls built to form a plateau from the uneven terrain. The house sat at the crest of the hill, oriented to capture panoramic views of the estate and the distant waters of Long Island Sound. Just north of the residence, across an open courtyard, stood a tall water tower and an enormous stable complex. The stable alone measured about 250 feet long by 60 feet wide, with an adjacent coach house 200 by 40 feet, a scale that astonished local farmers accustomed to modest barns. The estate boasted its own electrical power supply, indoor plumbing and central heating, an indoor swimming pool, a private squash court, and even underground service tunnels, cutting-edge luxuries for the time. To maintain such a grand estate, more than 50 full-time staff were employed to run the household, stables, gardens, and farm, from coachmen and stable hands to gardeners, cooks, and maids. As we pull through the gate lodge's two-story porte-cochere and make our way towards the courtyard, I'd like to take a moment to say a special thank you to our members for making videos like this one possible. If you would like to contribute in part to our research and the creation of these videos, consider joining our membership program today. Now what do you say we find the front door and begin exploring the house? Inside Wheatley, the emphasis was on refined comfort rather than gaudy display. Quote, "While there is no conspicuous embellishment, provision for comfort has been wisely planned at royal expense," observed one reporter in 1894. The mansion's decor artfully mixed simplicity with personal flourishes reflecting Morgan's interest. For example, the floors in some rooms were planked and caulked like a ship's deck, and broad canvas sails hung above the cavernous fireplaces. Many rooms recalled early American colonial style: low, exposed ceiling beams, simple rush-seated chairs, and plain wooden log bins beside the hearth gave parts of the house a rustic, old-fashioned charm. This understated backdrop made the moments of true splendor stand out all the more. In the great hall, the ceiling soared with exposed beams set in sections of alternating angles, creating a truly dynamic space that broke from uniformity. This massive hall could double as the ballroom when he was entertaining. Morgan also outfitted a stately library, with fine mahogany bookshelves holding an exceptional collection of rare books and engravings begun by his grandfather, supplemented by treasures like framed letters from President Abraham Lincoln to the elder Governor Morgan, mementos the family proudly cherished. Now, the house didn't start out quite so grand. As Morgan's family grew, so did Wheatley. Over time, he expanded the mansion by adding wings around the central courtyard, effectively enclosing it on 3 sides. A covered arcade with white columns connected these additions to the main house, and an unusual feature, a labyrinth of underground tunnels, discreetly linked the mansion with the pool, chapel, and other outbuildings below ground. Morgan lived to see the twilight of the Gilded Age give way to the upheavals of the Great Depression. He passed away in 1933 at the age of 78, marking the end of an era for his family. Wheatley's fate after Morgan's time was emblematic of the broader decline of Long Island's Gilded Age mansions. Morgan's family did keep Wheatley intact for some years after this time, but cracks were beginning to show. In 1937, just a few years after Edwin's passing, his heirs sold off the entire property to a new owner, Randall J. LeBoeuf. After the sale, the grand old mansion did not remain intact for long. In the early 1950s, major portions of the house, including its expansive central section, were demolished to make way for a residential subdivision. In an unusual twist, the 2 large wings of the house were spared and converted into separate private residences, and even the estate's little chapel was preserved and remodeled as a standalone home. Today, the majority of the former 650-acre grounds has been redeveloped for other uses, most prominently as the campus of the Wheatley School. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you think about this unique property? Let me know down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.